answer our first question here. Paul had asked if the recording will be available. Yes, Paul, it will. Okay, let's go ahead and kick things off. So hello, everyone, and welcome to Commutify and Beeline Mobility's first webinar in our 5-part series that'll be titled Return to Work Best Practices. Each 30-minute webinar will be conducted twice weekly and held on Tuesdays and Thursdays, so please continue to tune in as each webinar's content will actually expand upon the last. Again, yes, we will have this recording available, so if you want to get some friends or colleagues caught up prior to next week, you're welcome to do so. And of course, feel free to invite friends and colleagues that just may find our future sessions helpful as well. To set a quick agenda, first, please use the chat bar to submit any questions throughout the webinar itself. We're going to do our very best to answer as many questions as we can. And when we arrive to the open forum at the end of our session, please use the raise your hand tool. Again, we're going to do our best to get to as many questions as we possibly can. Second, we're just going to do some quick introductions of the panelists and contributors that are here on today's call. And then we'll get into the good stuff before wrapping up and explaining how you can actually register for in order to collect a free and tailored data tool that we're going to be offering you at the end of today's session. As a quick intro for me, my name is Bobby Lauderyoung. I am a co-founder and director at Beeline Mobility, which is a commute solution provider based here in Seattle. Our 2 core competencies are consulting, in which we plan, implement, and optimize commute programs for both enterprise businesses and cities, and our other competency being shuttles, in which we design and operate everything from first last mile shuttles to really pushing for autonomous ones. And this webinar series is a result of a complementary partnership between Beeline Mobility and Commutify, with all of the technology aspects, including the data tool that we're going to provide you today, being designed by Commutify's team. Commutify is a comprehensive commute platform that engages both employees and management with data analytics that power data-driven decision-making. And together, Commutify and Beeline are going to be bringing you what we believe are best practices to consider in these unprecedented times. In this webinar series, we're not only going to provide you with our recommended best practices for drafting your return to work program, but we're also going to provide you with the free tool that I mentioned that is actually going to be tailored to your organization, and it is designed to help you gather answers to the questions that really matter to you in your leadership right now. Maybe those questions are, should we still be charging for parking or make it free for the time being? Will we have enough parking if our drive alone rate skyrockets? Or how do we expand our bike program to make sure that that doesn't happen? So in addition to this tool, Josh of Commutify, who's one of our contributors today, and myself will then present your organization with the data along with our quick analysis and interpretation. We really want to be providing you with value and enabling you to have everything you need in order to get through this tough time. So please keep an eye out in the chat bar for a registration link that I believe Josh just put in there. You'll use this registration link to request your free tool, and then following consultative analysis, we'll talk more about that here in a bit. But that said, for now, I'd like to get started by introducing the other 2 panelists and contributors on today's call, starting with Josh. Josh Jacobson leads Commutify's Sustainable Commute Integrations team, where he's an activist and thought leader in urban mobility. Josh spends his days helping commuters, buildings, companies, and cities discover and utilize the many alternative modes of transportation that are available to single occupancy vehicle drivers who commute to downtown urban corridors. And we also have Andy from Commutify. Andy has a master's degree in renewable energy and sustainable transportation. He leads the behavioral data science team at Commutify and is the resident expert on commuter behavior and transportation planning and analysis. He wrote the latest Commutify white paper, Returning to Work Best Practices, in which this webinar series is based on, and which he will be briefly reviewing with you today. On that note, I'm going to pass the ball to Andy. Andy, the Zoom room is yours.
Awesome. Thank you, Bobby. So yeah, as Bobby said, we just put out a white paper on this topic on how to best prepare to have your commuters return to work. And so I'm just going to kind of go over that briefly talk through it, and then we'll also provide a link to find that white paper if you haven't looked at it, for just some further light reading if you want that. So to start off, we are going to kind of look through some of these commute impacts and trends that we're seeing due to COVID-19. And then I'll walk through that guide briefly, and then we'll pass it over to Josh to talk more about this free analysis that Bobby had already mentioned, and then we'll go to a Q&A at the end. Remember, if you want to submit any questions, just feel free to do it in that Q&A function in Zoom, and then we'll get to those at the end to try to give probably about 10 minutes to answer questions. So what we've done with this commute period that we're entering with COVID-19 is sent out a survey to most of our users with Commutifi. And this has just it's been pretty brief. It's just a few questions about, how work from home is working for people, as well as how people feel about different modes of transportation and what people intend to do moving forward as they return to work. So what have we actually seen from this? And this is real data that we've seen nationally from the results we're getting in. And the first thing is that people are worried, they don't feel comfortable about shared modes of transportation. This is public transit, carpool, vanpool, shuttle. They're feeling really good about driving and walking and biking by themselves to work. So we really need to kind of consider this as we move forward and see, is this actually going to impact commuting trends moving forward? And what we see from just, straight up asking people is that it will probably. So once again, this is real data. On the left in the pie chart up on the top left, this is data from Commutify of how people have commuted before COVID-19. And then on the right is what they intend to do once they return, whether that's, they're already returning or whether that's in a couple of months. And what we see is a drive rate that is pretty substantially increased over the next period of time. And on the bottom there is just another way to look at it. The key points here are that carpool and vanpool are really, people don't feel comfortable there and they don't intend to continue to use that short term, as well as public transit. And so this can be an issue, and we kind of foresee this as an issue for a lot of companies and cities and parking operators who may have an over demand for parking. So one thing we've thought about is, can you use maybe something like a work from home program as a parking demand management tool? And so we wanted to make sure that, people want to work from home. So people have been working from home for a while now. And so we asked how that's going, how people feel. And this is the data we've gotten, and it's pretty striking actually. So once again, on the top left there is before COVID-19, and on the top right is what people would like to do after if given the choice. And what we see is that before COVID-19, only 50% of people were working from home at least once a week. And then afterwards, over 90% want to work from home at least once a week, including a quarter of people who would like to do it every day. So this is just pointing to the idea that if you're a company that's thinking about work from home, expanding a work from home program, this is probably a good time to do that. And people are willing to and happy to work from home. So that being said, that's just some data we've seen now. But how do you go about getting this data for your own organization and then using that to plan programs moving forward? So the first thing to think about is that it really is important to do it now. There's really 4 reasons. The first is that commuters are primed to change their behavior now. Often it's hard to change a commute because it's a learned long-term habit. But right now that habit's been interrupted, and when people come back to work, they're gonna have to make that choice again. So giving them something to choose that's good and not driving alone is a good time to do it. Additionally, commuters are gonna wanna save money. We're entering this period of economic uncertainty. Money savings are important. Driving is actually pretty expensive in the long term. Third is that many companies have already established work from home programs, And so, you don't want that hard work to go to waste. The culture's already been built around that. And so this is a great way to just kind of expand that. And then finally, you just might not have another choice. If you don't have enough parking for a 10 to 40% increase in parking demand, then you're going to have to find out a way to get people to work a different way. And actually, as we've seen in China, this trend has actually been a reality. As China's opened up, their drive alone rate has increased by about 40%. So it's a great time to do it now. So what are the 3 big steps that you can take? The first is to collect commuter data, develop a baseline of where people were kind of pre-COVID-19, and then use that to analyze that data and identify new programs, and then finalize your policies and create a single catalog of plans for all of the commuters to find out what is available. So I'm just going to kind of quickly dive through this. Once again, there's a lot more detail in the white paper, and I can answer any questions at the end as well. So first, it's important to collect the data. You can either build a commuter survey yourself, or you can use an existing one. There's a few on the market. I'll reiterate what Bobby had said, that Commutifi and Beeline are partnering to provide a free commuter survey and analysis. So if that's of interest to you, we're happy to talk and fill out that survey that Josh gave the link to in the chat. Then once you collect that data, primarily about how are people getting to work, it's important to develop a baseline. So this is something that's often overlooked. You need to understand, where were we, at day one, which in this case would have been about maybe 2 months ago, pre-COVID-19. And that way, when you're analyzing new programs, and then once programs go live and they're actually working, you can continue to analyze them and compare them against that baseline to make sure that they're working well. So we like to create a baseline of cost, time, and carbon. And I think that's a good way to kind of just think about the commute in 3 different really important metrics. Once you build that baseline, you can then start to analyze the data a bit deeper. So there's a few questions here. I'm not going to go over all of them, but they just kind of get to how much money is being spent, how much time is being spent, and how much emissions come from your commute, as well as critically for you as a commute manager, what programs currently exist. Are you paying for parking? Do you provide a transit pass, or anything like that? And how often are they being used? So often we find that there's programs out there that just aren't being used, and maybe you can reallocate that money to a better program. Once you analyze the current programs and the current trends, then you have to analyze new programs. So we have 7 here that we like to kind of look into. And once again, we can help with that. But the key ones right now, we're probably looking at work from home, looking at some sort of parking cash out program, which is essentially providing some small monetary incentive for people to not drive and park. This works well if you think, let's say, it costs you $100 a month to get a parking space for your employee. This would be, if you can give them $50 a month, you're actually saving $50 a month. They're getting $50 to not drive and park. It's kind of a win-win. So there's a couple, this goes into more depth in the white paper as well, but it's important to look at these new programs. Then you can kind of compare it all and finalize, pick a few things and just finalize those. And what we've done is found out what we think are 6 steps that right now you can take to impact your commuting in the best way. So the first 3 are all about working from home and working remotely. We really think this is a good demand management tool right now for people returning to work. So just allow commuters to work from home if they want to. Provide maybe some sort of incentive or some subsidies for a remote office. If people want to work closer to work, they don't want to go all the way to the main office, maybe they can work from a co-working studio. Give people a stipend to pay for work from home equipment, whether that's internet bandwidth, maybe a better desk or chair. And then what you can do is extend that stipend as people start wanting to return to work, as you start wanting people to return to the office. extend that stipend to be used on any non-parking commute to try to drive that parking demand down, which is the critical thing that we think is going to be the challenge you'll face. And one way to help with that is shifting monthly parking passes to daily parking. This is great if you can kind of have half the team work from home, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and half Tuesday, Thursday, especially if there's some sort of social distancing rules in place in your area. Then this allows you to kind of split a single parking space amongst your employees. And then we always add this to the end just because we really like and are passionate about the carbon piece. But plant some trees to offset that remaining carbon. And this is a great time to get to carbon neutral on your commutes because there's going to be, especially if you're using this work from home program, it's going to be kind of a smaller footprint already. So you can get to carbon neutral pretty quickly. Then once you've kind of developed these policies, it's important to create a single catalog of plans. This can just be, a single document sent out to everyone, or whatever kind of tool you like to use. But commuters need to be informed of all of the policies that exist. And then that way they can take advantage of the ones that are most relevant to them. And if you want to go a step further, you can even take that to targeting plans to certain commuters. If some commuters live further away, maybe they get preferential options for work from home, so they don't have to commute as far. So all of that being said, as Bobby has already mentioned, as Josh is going to continue to talk about, we can help with this through this free commuter analysis. I'm going to send this over to Josh to talk a little bit more about what that looks like, but feel free to put any questions in that Q&A bar. We'll answer them at the end. And thank you.
Awesome. Well, thanks, Andy. So quick overview, we're talking about how to get started with a free analysis of your employees' return to work commuter. The big idea is really to eliminate the guesswork out of what a return to work commuter plan could look like. Will employees be more reluctant to take public transit? Will they continue sharing rides in Ubers and Lyfts, carpools and van pools? Can your company accommodate a surge in employee parking if single occupancy vehicle spikes after the return? And which employees should be encouraged to continue working from home based on their behaviors and what they need to do to get to and from the office? And this all rolls up into the bigger question: what is your return to the workplace strategy? So we know that in order to build a good plan, we need to start with good data. So we created a tool to make it easy for you to ask your employees the right questions. And this way you can benchmark the commuter profile to help you evaluate and roll out an informed return to work commuter program. Basically, so we made this as simple as possible for you to get started. All you really have to do is just request the analysis. And that's that unique survey that I'm going to send out again for those of you that came out a little bit late. And you'll see that in the Zoom chat window, the one that's blinking. If you click on that link and fill out the form, you'll be sent a unique survey for your building location. And it really only takes 2 or 3 minutes to fill out. And then within a few days of that survey being emailed out to all your employees, you'll get your results in the free analysis. So what I'd like to do now is share my screen and just kind of talk about what you'll get, and so basically this is what you'll get. So here, for demonstration purposes, here's an example. It's a company whose employees are spending nearly $5 million a year on their daily commutes. Company-wide, employees are spending over 200,000 hours per year just on getting themselves to and from work. And as a result, the company's annual carbon footprint is 2.75 million pounds of carbon dioxide. And that's just from the employees' daily commutes. So we break it down further in this analysis for you. So you'll receive insights all around what your employees are currently working from home, what their intentions are when it comes time for them to return to work, and what mode of transportation they plan to take when the time is right for their return. And what's really cool is that you'll be able to visualize your employees' data through this heat mapping tool. Now, this is a really big idea. So with this heat map, you can model and forecast how different modes of transportation will affect your existing commuter program. So along with these outputs that I just went over, you'll receive a live dashboard that'll show you all these different metrics. And with the analysis, you'll be able to make these real-time data-driven decisions around commuter cost reduction and help you eliminate wasted spend upon underutilized commuter benefits. So basically, this slide kind of breaks down even further how much time each employee is spending on their commute, which employees will have the greatest challenges getting back to work. Break down further what time and cost in terms of how much time, which employees have the greatest challenges based on their personal profile and their commute profile, and what the environmental impact is from all this in terms of carbon emissions that helps keep your company aligned with your annual sustainability initiatives. So basically, we have more details in the white paper about all these slides. So please review it as a reference. And if you feel these type of insights would be valuable, definitely encourage you to sign up, get started with the free analysis. And with that, I'll hand this back over to Bobby to speak about how communication and adoption would work.
Excellent, Josh. Thank you. So I just want to take a second and talk about why all of this matters. So what does this all mean? I mean, we've given you a lot of information as far as what we believe are best practices. We're offering you this this data tool that's going to collect I suppose measure, let me rephrase, answer the questions that really matter right now in a measurable and quantifiable way. But what I really want to touch on is that when trying to remain agile and adaptable through unprecedented times like what we're in now, and they'll, be it another pandemic, which should ideally not happen, but there's always going to be some sort of hurdle that we have to overcome, and whatever that hurdle is, there's really a proven two-step approach to making sure that you overcome that. First is make sure to collect data that'll answer the questions that are lingering. And then two, what's really arguably equally as important is being able to understand what story that data is telling you. And so really everything that we're talking about today is going to be both of those things. Commutify is going to help you capture the data with this free tool that they've designed. And then Beeline and Josh and myself will actually hop on a call with you, walk you through the analysis, and let you know what story we think that your data is telling, so we can help guide you on your way to draft a really powerful and data-driven return to work plan. So we hope that this is going to be helpful for you. We look forward to speaking with you about your data results, and from there, we just want to emphasize that Commutify and Beeline's partnership is really built upon this shared value of how can we help the community, and there's no better time to do that than right now. And so we're really trying to provide some guidance to you and your organizations in a time when we know that we can all use it. So that said, we've kind of covered why these tools really matter. What I'd like to do is transition towards transition to our Q&A period before we wrap up. So we can go ahead and open up the floor to any questions that you may want answered, your organization may be looking for answers to, and then perhaps we can help tailor what we're talking about today to help encourage you in the right direction.
Perfect. And it looks like we got a couple questions already in about that survey, the survey results that we talked about earlier. So questions are, how many respondents, what the geography of the survey was. So we sent this out to our users across North America. We had a good amount of responses from California, as well as the Denver area in Colorado. And we're around 300 to 400 respondents have sent in. Obviously looking to expand that, because the more data, the better that is. But what we've noticed is that across geographies, kind of no matter where we're looking, it's pretty similar actually how they're answering. One caveat to this is that the majority of the people so far that have responded to the survey are traditional 9 to 5 workers. They're not shift workers, so that could be different there. So if you have a different makeup of your organization, we can send this out, like Bobby and Josh said, to your organization and get data specifically to you to make sure that that's accurate across the organization.
Great. Yeah, Andy, I'll tackle Marie France's question. When providing the reopening plan, do you include all mobility options? So Marie, just to be perfectly clear, so what we're providing is the tool to help you collect the data, and then Josh and I will be hopping on a call to review those results with you, and we'll do some light analysis alongside you to help you best determine what the data is telling you. So we're not going to, while there may be particular modes given the current landscape that we're and environment that we're in, there may be particular modes that are more likely or less likely to be adopted as you phase employees back into your workplace. But really the point of today's call is to collect data and analyze that data and understand what the data is telling you, because ultimately, if you do those two things, collect and analyze, the data will provide you naturally with a blueprint for what modes and solutions need to be implemented. Hope that answers your question.
Okay. And we have one more question here. Is there an ideal density you're looking for to offer the survey to? And the answer is there's nothing ideal. The more data points we have, the better, right? To make those more informed decisions, as Bobby was mentioning. But we can offer you the data just if your organization is small, 20 people. It scales up to 2,000, 20,000 people. It doesn't really matter as long as we have that survey results. We can start sharing with you the analysis of what your employees' intentions are and what the commute options are for them.
All right, looks like we're at the half hour. So Bobby, if you want to wrap us up here, if there's any more questions, feel free to submit them, and we will we'll answer them offline as well. One more quick question. Actually, I can answer this in a second. Is the survey available for cities? Yes, for cities, businesses, property managers, anyone there. It works great. So.
Fantastic. Yeah, and Josh, if you want to repopulate the link in the chat bar for us, that'd be great. So folks, Josh is going to be repasting the link in the chat bar. Looks like he just did. So you're going to copy and paste that link into your web browser, fill out the quick answers there, in which we will then provide you with this data survey tool that can be distributed to your employees. Again, we'll get the results. Josh and I will do a light analysis together, and we'll reach out to you to schedule a time to let you know what your data is telling you, and hopefully that'll provide you with some value. So thank you very much for joining the first webinar in this 5-part series that's focused on return to work best practices. These twice weekly webinars are going to be held on every Tuesday and Wednesday for the next several months anyway. So please do refer others if you believe that they're going to find this useful. As I mentioned, this recording will be available if you want to catch them up, given that each week will expand upon the prior week's content. So again, go ahead and click the link in the survey chat bar to request your tool, and we hope that you'll join us next Tuesday for our webinar titled Planning and Implementing Commuter Programs. Thanks so much for attending, and we hope to see you then.